guess we can start. So good evening to everybody that are in here in the session, or the ones that are listening in to this video. It's good to see the people that join us. Today we actually have a topic that is a bit of a different topic. We're going to talk about our autonomic system, but we're not going to go too much to the it's not med school, and we're not going to teach too many things that are too anatomical. We're going to do a little bit of that. But the reason I wanted to actually talk about the autonomic system is because when we think about it, when we stress either because of migraine or when we stress generally, the system in the body that is responsible for that is the autonomic system. Now, a lot of people, we don't like being stressed, we hate it, we don't like being anxious. But if we really want to master those states that we get ourselves in and out of, it's important for us to learn a little bit more about what is happening in our bodies, what is the states that we found ourselves in, because the more we know about them, the more we can do something with them. And so it's more going to be today about educating us about the different states of the autonomic system and how do we move from one state to the next. Again, for those of you who this is their first time, my name is Dan Kaufmann. I'm a research assistant professor at the Department of Neurology. And usually in headache school, at the fourth week of the month, we're giving tools and techniques. We're giving mainly not necessarily knowledge, even though we are going to have a presentation, but it's more focused on giving you tools that you can use after the session and just to take it through your life. And these are usually relatively simple to use tools that you can just take and run with them and use them or not, but hopefully you'll find them beneficial. So without further ado, I would like to share my screen because we have a bit of a presentation. Can everybody see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. So what we're going to talk about today is our autonomic system, but mostly how to navigate our autonomic system. How do we move from stress to relax, or from relaxed to stressed? And I think that what we're going to do today is mostly educational, and we're going to get a glimpse of really sensing how do we feel in our bodies when we're in a relaxed state, we were in stress state, or when we're in a shutdown state. We're going to talk about all those states. And once we have a better understanding or better felt experience, we can know what those states feel like and how we recognize them and how do we move from one state to the next. So that's going to be the topic of today. But I'm wondering if people are asking themselves, okay, I'm living with migraine. Why do I need to know about stress? Why do I need to know about the autonomic system? So the first thing I want to say is there is a connection between migraine or living with migraine and the whole notion of stress. We do know that migraine is associated with other stress disorders such as general anxiety, such as depression, and so forth and so on. And we know also that there is a bidirectional connection. It's like one fuels the other between migraine and anxiety disorder. So first, if I know that I'm experiencing migraines and I have these headaches which are debilitating, and I don't know when the next time that I'm going to have a migraine, I probably would have what we call anticipatory anxiety. Like, I'm afraid, well, when is the next time that's going to happen? I don't want it to happen. I'm nervous about that. So naturally, might be more anxious. But also, if I'm more anxious, like if I get really, really anxious or even depressed, I might also have a tendency to amplify any physiological symptoms that I'm going to experience. So it's like both are fueling one another. And it's important to recognize that there is a relationship between stress disorders and migraine. We also know, based on literature, that emotional stress is considered one of the primary triggers for migraine. And we also know that a lot, and again, that doesn't mean that everybody with migraine has that, but a lot of people with migraine do have an incident of past adverse experiences or traumatic experiences. And those adverse experiences have been shown to be linked with not just migraine, but chronic pain in general. So, with that in mind, when we look at the stress and migraine connection, when we think about if we might have experiences, post-trauma or some adverse experience, when we maybe have periods of severe stress or chronic stress, and if we did experience some adverse childhood experiences, all of those has been shown to create autonomic system dysregulation. And again, and that has been known, but also autonomic system dysregulation has been linked with migraine. And a lot of people also are saying that migraine is an autonomic system phenomena. So with those relationship between autonomic system dysregulation and migraine leads us to think maybe if we can have better idea of regulating our autonomic system, understanding what is going on inside, maybe we can have a better handle of the states that we go in and out. And so with that in mind, we talked a little bit about the autonomic system, but what is this? What is this autonomic system? So this is a system that is shared with all humans. This is our bio-behavioral platform. The autonomic system is designed to regulate internal organs such as our heart, our lungs, our stomach, and so forth. And the reason we have the autonomic system is because the cues that we're getting from the environment are interpreted by the autonomic system to help us survive for the environment. So, for example, if God forbid we see a predator, the autonomic system receives the cues and it automatically going to regulate our heart. Our heart is going to beat faster. We're going to breathe faster. Our stomach is going to be shut down because it's not time for digestion. So the autonomic system is preparing ourselves to meet with the demands of the environment. And in that case, like if we see a predator or some sort of a threat, then the autonomic system is at play when we can actually start either fleeing or fighting. The goal of the system is to help us to survive in times of danger, but also it's designed to help us thrive when there is safety or when there's no danger at sight. Usually when we talk about the autonomic system, we talk about two arms. Talk about the sympathetic, like the fight or flight. When we have a threat, then immediately we go into action. Or the parasympathetic, which a lot of people call it rest and digest, which is the state that we're thriving. We engage in social activities. We're just relaxing. Those are the two main components of the system. Today, I wanted to introduce a different system that is kind of like an expansion of the autonomic system, and that's called the Polyvagal Theory, because the Polyvagal Theory provides a better, more up-to-date map of our autonomic system, and it provides an expanded picture of how, when we live in the world, how we interpret the things that happen to us, how we react to things, and what are the hierarchy of stages that we go in and out that might explain our experiences. So using the polyvagal theory, we're looking at three instead of two, three biological pathways that allowing us to respond. And those are three states that we go in and out of in response to the things that happen to us in daily life. So first, when there's no danger, similar to what we talked about, the rest and digest, this is the social engagement system. When everything is safe, we co-regulating, we're healthy, happy, we're doing social activities and so forth and so on. When danger starts coming into play, we get to the state of being mobilized. And that's what we used to call fight or flight. In that form, the sympathetic system gets into being active. And when that happens, we either have the ability to either flee or fight and deal with whatever is at hand. When the danger is too much and we feel as if there is no ability, we don't have enough resources to deal with the danger at hand, the autonomic system goes into a collapse when we are completely shut down. And in that form, the system is pretty much conserving energy by having us completely shut down. Now, we're going to talk about how we experience those three states, but I would just wanted to explain in general what the polyvagal theory is mainly talking about. There is a history to the polyvagal theory, not just random. And in order to understand what is happening with our autonomic system, we need to go and kind of find out, how did this autonomic system originate? What were the processes that the autonomic system actually began to use during evolution? So what we want to do is actually go, to the distant past, like 500 million years ago, and that is when the oldest branch of the parasympathetic system was created. And in that form, in the more, archaic or old creatures that were in evolution, the autonomic system was created, and it used the most primitive form, which is the immobilization. It used that strategy in order to survive. Whenever that organism 500 million years ago was faced with some sort of a danger, in order to conserve energy, in order to make sure that the organism will survive, the system just shuts down. And this is similar, if I don't know if people have an experience of like watching an opossum or animals that just kind of, when there's a threat, they just kind of play dead. And that is similar to that archaic system, when it's kind of like complete shutdown, like we think that the animal is dead, but it's actually not. It's just completely shut down. And that strategy was first originated at that point in time, and that was the first indication of the autonomic system as we know it today. Then afterwards, about 400 million years ago, the sympathetic system was created. And that next step of evolution, instead of just completely shutting down and being immobilized, that system gave us the ability to actually move or mobilize in order to survive. So when we say mobilize, we can do all sorts of things. When we move, we can either fight, we can either flee, we do something. But this is a newer system that was created as part of the autonomic system that helped the organism survive. And the newest system that was created is the parasympathetic ventral vagal. And that system that was evolved gave us the ability to engage and to co-regulate, meaning that when we living in flock or like in a group, we know what other members of the group feel or experience. So for example, if we're in a group of deer, one of them is sensing danger, the rest of the group are able to identify, based on co-regulation, that thing that one of the members of the group have felt, and so they're able to sense this danger themselves. So the ability to co-regulate, the ability to be social and to feel what other people are experiencing in a group is the newest form of the sympathetic system, or the parasympathetic system, sorry, and that is the ventral vagal that we're going to talk about. So the three the three stages of the system starts from the oldest, when the system taught us how to completely shut down and being immobilized, newer system that taught us to be mobilized and you fight or flee, and the newest system that we got the ability to co-regulate, be social, and kind of get the information from other people that we're in group with. The vagus nerve, when we talk about polyvagal, the vagus nerve is the most important part of the autonomic system. And the vagus nerve is the longest of the 12 cranial nerve, and that's why its name, vagus, came from the word like vagary, like wandering, and you can see by the picture that the vagus nerve pretty much travels all over, so that's why it's, you know, it's like a vagabond. It is the main component of the parasympathetic, and it's responsible for either the connection, that's why it says the ventral vagal, or the immobilization, which is the dorsal vagal, and travels from the brainstem, connects to the heart, the stomach, and so forth and so on. What is important to know, and again, this is not an anatomy class, but what is important to know in terms of your experience of the vagus nerve is there are two divisions of the vagus nerve that are different from one another. One, which is called dorsal, or anatomically, that part of the vagus nerve is towards the back. This is the oldest system. Its territory is below our diaphragm, and it affects organs regulating digestion. When it's active, it's when there is not enough energy, so it does cause us, if this is the main component that is taking charge of the whole autonomic system, it does cause us to be completely numb, immobilized, and it does get into play when the threat is too much for us to handle. The other component of the autonomic system, the ventral vagus, the newest system, 200 million years ago, its territory is above the diaphragm. It affects the heart, the breathing. It also affects facial muscle. And that's not coincidental, because if that part is responsible for us co-regulating or being social, so naturally it's going to affect our facial muscles that would allow us to be more social, to smile, and so forth and so on. When this part is active, it is when our system is safe, we're in social engagement, healthy, and so forth and so on. So let's kind of make a summary of everything we talked about, because it's not coincidental that we looked at the history, because there is a hierarchy when we want to understand how we experience things during the day. There is some sort of a hierarchy that we move in and out of. Usually, if everything is okay, there's no danger, we're feeling good, then usually that's the place when the green or the ventral vagal component is in charge of the system. That usually when the system is feeling safe, we feel connection, we feel health, growth, we are socially engaged, we can co-regulate with other people. That's usually when we start. When there's a danger, something happens, and it doesn't matter if it's actual danger or maybe something in our minds. We feel something's going to happen. We're feeling migraine is going to happen. We're remembering something that our boss said, or our significant other said, or our kids, or we get to worry. We feel some sort of a threat. The first thing we're going to experience is a state of unease. That's when the sympathetic system starts to get into action. The sympathetic system is important to allow us to mobilize. So we're starting to feel that we're uneasy, we want to do something, and again, we can either fight or flee. If the danger is too much, if we feel we don't have the resources to cope with whatever danger that we feel that is at hand, then we go further down the autonomic ladder, and that is when the dorsal vagal gets into play in the system that is in a state of kind of collapse. There's a system of immobilization, and that's again the system that conserves energy by pretty much shutting us down. Usually when we're in that system, in that state, we don't want to deal with anything, we want to go to sleep, we just, kind of like shutting down from everybody and from the world. So if we really want to experience what that feel like in the three component of the system, so again, let's start from the collapse. Usually when we are in the state of collapse, when the dorsal vagal is active, we really feel withdrawn. We don't want to have anything to do with anybody. We just want to rest. We want to, we're just kind of shutting down. We feel numb. Sometimes it's hard to focus or concentrate. We completely disconnect with friends, with people. We're feeling lost or abandoned. And it's really sometimes that we're so afraid that we're completely immobilized. And I give a little story usually when I teach that about something that happened in my family. When my mom, rest in peace, when she was diagnosed with cancer, she was going through a period of relapse. And at some point, she was just walking down the street, and all of a sudden, she got a phone call from her doctor. And that was a certain nurse that called her. And she told her, Mrs. So-and-so, you need to come here immediately back to the doctor's office. And my mom was worried. She thought that something bad has happened, maybe cancer came back or something. And she stood in the middle of the street and she told me I couldn't move. My hands were frozen, my feet were frozen. I couldn't move. And just slowly but surely, I started moving, but I was just completely frozen. It seemed to resonate with this state of collapse because at that point, it seemed that the threat was so great that she just completely shut down. The next state of mobilization, when the sympathetic system is active, again, we have the ability to move, but in that form, in that state, we feel danger. We want to either flee or want to fight. We feel alarmed, we feel anxious, we feel hypervigilant. It's like the state, I don't know if you had that experience of, I just can't sit still. I need to do something. I need to just, I can't just sit in one place. I need to either fight or yell at someone or run, or I can't sit in one place. And then the ventral vagal, the newest system, is the state when we feel social engagement, we feel safe, we feel that we self-regulate, we feel connected to ourselves, we feel connected to others, we acknowledge the distress, but it doesn't bother us too much, we're feeling resourceful, we're feeling rested. These are pretty much the three components of the system. So the system guides our daily experiences. As we said, we first start with our ventral vagal, and we use communication, social engagement. We're social beings pretty much. So this is usually when we're at, unless something happens. If there is a danger, we first go into the mobilization phase. We may try to communicate, and if it's not successful, then we feel a threat. If we feel that we can still do something, then we really want to do something. We will use strategies, we are confront, or we are able to do something about the situation. If we feel we are unresourceful and there's nothing to do, we go further down to the collapse state or the dorsal vagal, that if we feel that there's nothing to be done and the threat is too great, then we feel disconnected, we kind of shut down, go inside, feeling completely lost, unable to find ways back to safety. And usually a lot of people, when they're really depressed or don't want to move, don't want to do anything, that usually signifies that state. If we want to get out of that state, it's nice to say, oh, well, if you're completely depressed, just think positive thoughts and, just be happy. But usually it doesn't work that way. Sometimes we need to, by understanding our autonomic ladder, we need to maybe start being mobilized. So if I'm feeling shut down, don't want to move, don't want to do anything, the first thing that might be able to help is start doing something. Maybe start walking. I had an incident with actually just a friend of mine who is suffering really from social anxiety, and he just didn't want to go anywhere. He was just like completely frozen at his house. And what I suggest is like, okay, that's okay that you're feeling that way, but maybe just stand up and just walk towards the door and come back. And after you've done that, go towards the door, open it, and then come back. And then maybe take one step out of the house and come back. And then maybe just to the end of the street. You start to get the person mobilized to get out of the shutdown phase. Once you're mobilized, then you can do other things such as, maybe meditation, relaxation, in order to get back into ventral vagal. But just by understanding and getting the idea of where we're at on the autonomic ladder, it can give us a lot of information and help so that we can navigate our own states and do something about it. So what I would like to do now, in the time that we have left, I would like to do a bit of an exercise to give you all kind of a felt experience of each of those autonomic states, so that you'll have kind of a personal experience, not just a theory or some like a textbook explanation of what that could be, but so that you have your own experience of what it feels like to be in each of those states, so you'll be able to understand a little bit better the next time that you're experiencing each of those states, that you'll be able to say, oh, I know where I'm at. I'm feeling restless, I'm in sympathetic. Now I just don't want to see anybody, I'm in dorsal. Now I'm happy, I want to see friends, now I'm in ventral vagal. So based on that, we're just going to do a bit of an exercise. I'm going to stop sharing right now. It's going to be done with your eyes closed. So I'm going to ask everybody to just, sit comfortably. If there's anything that bothers you, or, you can take pillows, you can lie down, make sure your phone is turned off. And as you're doing that, and yes, I see a nice dog. That's actually very much of a safety. It's actually a great form. Dogs are amazing to help us feel safe. So that's actually a good thing. So if everybody are ready, I'm just asking you to sit comfortably. And whenever you're feeling comfortable, you can always change your posture to any posture that makes you feel better. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and close your eyes. And as you're doing that, just focus on yourself right now and just let yourself just relax. And I'm wondering, as you're doing that, allowing yourself to notice your body right now. As you're noticing your body, noticing the sensation that your back is making with the chair or the bed, your arms next to you, your feet on the floor or on the bed, wherever you're at. And as you're doing that, I'm inviting you now to start noticing your breath. Your inhale and exhale. And as you're doing that, just allow your breath to take you deeper. And notice how much more relaxed you feel already just by noticing your breath. Just by allowing your breath to just kind of relax you, because the more relaxed you are, the better you will be at just focusing inward and identifying those states that we want to have you experience and explore right now. Now go ahead, just keep breathing in and out and notice how each and every breath relaxes you even more. And now, as you've just learned about the architecture, the responsibility, and all the survival actions of each of these autonomic states, as you have the knowledge of each of these states, I'm inviting you now to kind of dive a little more deeply into befriending your autonomic system. And the way we're going to do that, we're just going to start identifying each and every state. We're going to find out what it feels like to be in each of those states. And we're going to start with a state of homeostasis when the ventral vagal system is holding the sympathetic and the dorsal system in the regulation. And I'm inviting you to notice, how does this come alive in your body? What does it feel like to be completely regulated, completely balanced? You might have a sense of how energy moves. There might be maybe a flow. So go ahead and just take a moment and just kind of discover how this state of health and growth and restoration, how does that appear for you? And you might want to ask yourself, where in your body do you feel that regulating energy of that ventral vagal? Where do you feel it most intensely? What would it feel like to be really safe, really warm, that is strong but gentle? It's like you feel this safety and this energy in your body. Kind of like a gentle, maybe a snuggle, maybe feeling close. You might be joined by tears and laughter. And really feel free to share, and you can either stay or leave, but you have all those options and you just feel so good and regulated. This is the ventral vagal experience. Some people feel that regulating energy around their heart, or maybe some people feel that maybe you feel that as well around your heart, but you might feel it other places, maybe in your stomach, maybe behind your eyes, maybe in the palms of your hands, wherever you feel this regulating energy. Give your nervous system the time to let you find that place in your body where you feel the most regulating energy of the ventral vagal, whenever that system comes alive for you. So I'm going to stop talking and just take a moment to just notice that experience of really feel regulated and safe and snuggled and social, healthy. Notice how that feels in your body. There's a specific location, there's a specific sense. Just take a moment and really focus on that. And now, when it's okay, if you might Not have identified everything, and that's okay. You can always come back to that state. And in fact, I would like you to really maybe find something in your body that is familiar, that you can always come back to that state whenever you want to. Maybe a certain sensation. Just find it right now, and that sensation, whenever you're going to recall that sensation, can always come back to this soothing, ventral vagal regulating energy. And now, after we've explored the ventral vagal, I would like us to go down the hierarchy. I'd like us to explore the sympathetic survival place. And that place has a flavor of danger. Fear is whispering, and you feel the power of its message. And the message is move, do something, take action, escape. It's dangerous. No one can be trusted. No place is safe. And just notice when you experience that, where does that come alive in your body? This is the sympathetic system at work. Where in your body do you feel that most strongly? Some people feel that sense of danger, maybe running down their arms, into their hands, kind of like maybe a tingling energy, like a desire to move or to do something. But you might feel something different, maybe in your gut, maybe in your face, maybe in your legs. But really find this energy inside you and find where it activates you to do something, to move, to be careful, to watch out. Just kind of trace that in your body and notice where that is. And now that you had a flavor of the sympathetic, I'd like us now to go down to the bottom of the hierarchy and the survival state where we actually begin to lose hope, where collapse takes over. Energy is drained. It's like you're far away in this dark and forbidding place. You make no sound, and small and silent, and barely breathing alone, where no one would ever find you. You just want to disappear. And this is the dorsal vagal experience. You just want to not be around. You just want to be completely elsewhere. There's no hope. There's nothing. You just want to completely shut down from the world. Where do you feel that in your body? Some people might feel it as fuzziness behind their eyes, as people begin to lose touch with the world, and you might feel this as a place in your body that's empty, maybe a place that feels numb. Well, go ahead, take a moment and recognize and locate this place right now. Where in your body you feel that numbness, the desire to shut down. And now that you've begun to locate each and every state again, really take a moment and recognize and locate each and every state right now. And we'd like to also befriend. We'd like to befriend the system, and we maybe want to find a name or maybe even a color for each and every of those three states. How would you call each and every state? What would each and every state be called? Some people want to use the same scientific terms like dorsal vagal, sympathetic, ventral vagal, but you might want to give it different names. Maybe collapse, moving, and safety, or whichever name you want to give it. And you might want to give it colors also, maybe different colors than the one that I've given it. So go ahead and play with it and notice those three states and notice where in your body they are and maybe give them a name. Notice what your dorsal, sympathetic, and ventral would be like to be names. Some names can be like devoid, driven, and devoted. Sometimes people use weather like fog, storm, and sun. You can give it whatever name you want. And as you do that, you've already given a name or a color. Notice how different each of those states are. And before we conclude that exercise, I would like you again to recall the sensation of the ventral vagal, the one that you were supposed to remember, then connect with, the one that just by remembering it gets you back to ventral, to the regulating, resourceful, social, energized, happy state. Notice where that is in your body, because we want to conclude with that state in mind. And now, as you've traveled through your own landscape of autonomic letter, knowing that just by visiting or remembering the names, you can always come back to each of these states, and knowing that whenever you experience those states during your daily life, you know where you're at and you know what you can do with that. And with this knowledge, with all that information, I'm inviting you now to focus on your breath again. Breathing in and out. And I'm going to start counting now from 1 to 5. Slowly, slowly. When I'm going to get to 5, with each and every number, you're going to feel more awake, more alert, connected to your body, to the room. And when I'm going to say 5, you'll open your eyes, be in the here and now, normal, relaxed in every possible way, starting from 1. Slowly, slowly going up to 2. And 3, you might want to wiggle your fingers and toes. Want to move a bit in your chair. And 4, you might want to stretch your arms and stretch your legs and move in the chair a little bit more. And 5, you can open your eyes and be in the here and now, relax, normal in every possible way. So take a moment to just kind of regroup and think about your experience, the experience that you had in this exercise. And that exercise is pretty much intended for you to identify, how does it feel like when I'm regulated? How does it feel like when I'm starting to be anxious? And how does it feel like when I'm completely shut down? I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to be left alone.